Hi, I'm Max Temkin, one of the co-creators of Cards Against Humanity, and this is Tabletop Deathmatch, a competition to find the next great tabletop game. Last year, over 500 people submitted their unpublished games to a panel of expert judges. 16 finalists came to Gen Con to pitch their games in person, and one of those games will win a first printing paid for by Cards Against Humanity and be named the champion of Tabletop Deathmatch.
My name is Robert Huss, and my game is the Shadow Over Westminster. It's a cooperative deck builder with a big plus tacked onto the end because there's actually a board, and as you move around to different locations with other agents, it affects how you can play your cards and what you can do to advance. You're all working together trying to stop the end of the world from coming on, but first you have to figure out exactly what the end of the world is going to be. You've got things like the Dark One Walks, the Hive Mind, the Otherworld Beacons. You have the Rift War, the Singularity, the Ancient One, the Gate to Hell, and the Horseman. I've been making games probably all my life. As a kid, I would make these fun little games that I'd play with friends, and a lot of it was my imagination with some rules that I would probably change all the time to fit however the playstyle was going. I was a preschool teacher in Japan for about a year, and I made a bunch of games for the kids. They were really simple sort of variations on Guess Who and other little games that just got them to use English, but I had fun making them and they had fun playing them. More professionally, I only started making games at about the turn of this year. I found the site The Game Crafter where I could make prototypes that looked really good and people actually wanted to play them. And that inspired me to really dig down and pursue making good games instead of just games that were a whim. I'm currently going back to school to be an elementary school teacher. I really didn't expect to be chosen as one of the finalists in this competition. At 11:30 on the night of the deadline, I remembered that I hadn't put any entries in. So I threw everything together, put it in, and the next morning I actually built a website really quick so that when I told them that they could go there to find pictures, there actually was somewhere for there to go. When I found out that I was chosen as a finalist, it completely blew me away. I was actually at work, and I think I even jumped up out of my chair with my hands above my head, excited, and kind of confused all my coworkers. I was so excited I didn't even read through the entire email. And it wasn't until 2 days later when I went back and looked at it that I realized they were filming it, and then I had to jump up and throw my hands in the air one more time.
All right, thanks so much for coming to show us the game. Tell us about it.
Well, my name is Robert Huss, and this is my game, The Shadow Over Westminster. It's a cooperative game for 1 to 4 players. The setting is modern-day London, but the city is... There have been these strange disturbances popping up all around the city. The police are baffled, the general public's in a panic. Only one organization really has any clue what's going on. It's an above-the-government group known as the Agency, and so you're playing as the agents. It's sort of a deck builder plus. Each agent is composed of a deck. They begin the game with a few basic investigations and research cards, but as the game goes on, they'll be able to pick up more cards and add to it, and they grow in power as the game goes. It's different from a deck builder in that different types of cards have different backs, so you can strategically plan because you know what type of card is coming up next. You can use things that let you play cards from the top of your deck. There's a hold slot so that you can save cards for use later, so you're not just playing this turn, you're playing the future as well. In addition, there is a board. You can move your characters to different locations each turn, and depending on where you move to, that changes how you want to play out the cards in your hand. You can go to the agency, where you can pick up some new investigations, some of which are unique to your character. You can go to the museum, where you can pick up artifacts that'll help you out and also give you more research power. When you complete these investigations, you get to add the disturbance cards into your deck, and you take them with you to the university, where you will look into them and try to find out what this grand evil behind everything is. You'll turn them in, which increases your knowledge level, gives you a larger hand size, lets you do more on your turn, but it also progresses you to being able to flip over the cataclysm. And at that point, you find out what is going to cause the end of the world. Given enough time, you'd be able to build up your investigators and solve the mysteries and go in and destroy the cataclysm every single time, no problem. But at the beginning of every turn, you have to flip over one of these darkness cards, and it'll say something like Darkness in the University. You take a darkness token and put it in there. Not a big deal by itself, but it'll fill up. And when it fills up entirely, if one more goes in, darkness has engulfed that area. Anybody who was there is forced out, you have to retreat, and one of the darkness cubes goes on to the cataclysm. As the game goes on, you'll never be able to clear the darkness from every area fast enough to keep the cataclysm from building. If the cataclysm builds to full and overflows, the cataclysm happens and the game is lost. There's a lot of variety in this game. You've got 8 different cataclysms, and it's not revealed until halfway through the game. You've got 4 different agents which have their own unique abilities, which can play off of each other depending on who's in your area with you, and you can use abilities between each other to interact. Overall, the Shadow Over Westminster is a unique game every time you play, full of tension, and it's an exciting experience. I tend to prefer games that incorporate a good bit of strategy, but I actually don't like games that are entirely strategy. If you play games like that, whoever's played it the most is probably going to win every single time. So there needs to be some luck involved, but I don't want one final roll of the dice to determine who won the game.
So Robert, the prototype for this looks unbelievable. I think we're all kind of like oohing and ahhing over it.
Thank you very much.
Can you talk a little bit about how you made this prototype, if you know where you borrowed pieces from, and how it got designed and prototyped?
My original prototype was just cardboard and construction paper, but for this one I went through the website The Game Crafter, and there who printed up the board, the cards, and included the cubes. The miniatures are actually, since it's a prototype, I got those from the Reaper Minis Kickstarter, and then I had my friend Jeremy paint them for me because it's really cool when you have neat figures to play with. The artwork, I did a lot of it myself by spending way more time in Photoshop than most people would have to do that. I've learned a lot, and I have my friend Scott Maupin, who helped me with some last-minute board redesign and with my character art.
I think there's a lot of original design and ideas here, but I was also, I'm seeing a lot of elements of other games. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about some of the games that inspired this and got you thinking about this.
I've enjoyed deck builders, and I hadn't actually played any cooperative deck builders when I started making this, and I thought that would be a really neat way, instead of having a bunch of stats and all these things you have to remember in books about your character, if your character is just a deck of cards, and so you know how powerful they are by what cards you take in.
Have you played Betrayal at House on the Hill?
I have played Betrayal at House on the Hill, and theme-wise, that really influenced how I presented. I have a lot of flavor text on the cards, which I'm actually very proud of, and I liked their way of presenting the atmosphere through the flavor text.
Hi, I'm Mike Sellingker, the lead developer on Betrayal at House on the Hill.
Oh!
Yeah, I do not actually see a lot in Betrayal in here. I mean, I think there's a lot of very original stuff.
Thank you.
Well, I just to clarify, I mean, I think you brought some of my favorite parts of Betrayal into the game, and also I want to commend you on your restraint for just having the 8 possible endings.
Yeah.
And editing the bad ones out. Yeah. Nicely done.
This looks like a game that wants to be bigger, right? It looks like a game that wants to have a ton of new stuff in it, and it must be difficult to try to restrain yourself from putting like everything into this game.
I feel as it is right now, it is very solid with a very good amount of replayability. I have some ideas for more agents, I have ideas for more cataclysms, some little change-ups with the way disturbances work that could be done without actually redesigning the board at all, just adding some more to the cards.
So it's a cooperative deck builder, right? So the players are working together, they're discussing what's in their hand?
Yes.
Is there anything in the game that addresses the dominant player syndrome?
That is a good question, because in any cooperative game, there tends to be that one person who sort of tells everyone the best thing to do on their turn.
Yeah.
And my dark little secret is that I am that person. I hate being that person, but I'm like, oh, it would be better if you just did this, or wouldn't this be a good way to go? And so from the beginning, designing a cooperative game, I really, really wanted to avoid that. At most points in the game, you have 2 or 3 very viable options.
So it just sounds like a long-winded no. Yeah. So it doesn't, it sounds like Paul and Mike and I could play this game and Mike would just tell us what to do.
Let me shorten it then. There's not one right way to proceed forward at most points of the game.
I didn't get a good sense from your description of what the actual moment-to-moment mechanics are in this. So is it the typical where you have a hand, you play the cards out, then you discard them and get a new hand?
For the most part. On your turn, you will already have your hand of cards.
Sure.
You move to where you want to go.
Right.
And you play the cards you want to use there. Sometimes you can equip cards from your hand. There's a spot where you can hold a card to save until later. And at the end of that, you will discard and draw new ones. And a lot of it is not only playing the turn you're in, it's planning for what you'll be doing when it comes back to your turn again the next time.
Okay, and do all of these cards go into your deck, or some of these like?
Most of the cards go into your deck. The darkness cards do not. Those are just flipped over at the beginning of each turn. Everything else all the rest of the mini cards can make it into your deck at some point, and you will have them.
Is this a turn counter? So as the turns go by, you can your hand size increases?
No.
Okay.
To get that to go up, you have to complete investigations and actually collect the disturbance cards that you faced off against. Once you've dropped off the number required to go up, so 2 to move up the first time, and then they'll be cleared out of the game and you'll need 3 to go up again, that's how you increase the size of your hand. And when you get to that 3rd knowledge level, that is when you actually flip over the Cataclysm card and find out what's going on.
Robert, thank you so much for coming to show us the game. It looks amazing.
Thank you.
We're gonna hold on to your prototype and talk about it for a little bit and steal your Reaper minis, and we're gonna kick you out, but thank you again so much. Great looking game and really nice pitch. Thank you.
Thank you very much. What I love about playing my game, especially when I'm playing with new people, is how caught up everyone gets into the story that we're creating together. Sometimes things are going well and we're excited because we're doing such a good job at saving the city, and sometimes things are going very poorly and we're really tense and on edge trying to patch up all the holes we can and get it done in time. And it makes the gameplay exciting all the time. Nobody's ever just sitting there waiting and playing out their turn. They're involved and engaged.
Okay, judges, come on up and look at this prototype. So I'm pretty impressed by this. This one really caught me off guard. I'm really intrigued by it. Curious to know what you think, Mike. I mean, I think there's a lot of your influence on this.
I like it. I guess the way to think about it is I've been through all of these mechanics, and still there was some stuff in here that surprised me and made it like, oh, that's how you do that thing. I mean, there's enough in here that separates it from a pretty crowded field that I generally thought it was pretty great. I also really like that there's no stats on the cards. I know that's really weird given what I've done, but the fact is that the deck itself is definable enough to identify the outsider from the Knight Templar. I think that's pretty neat.
What I'm curious to know what everyone thinks about the kind of general syndrome. I mean, that's to some extent that's unavoidable with any co-op game. But this reminds me, in terms of like how the players interact, a little more of Shadows Over Camelot, which is one of the best games I've played, co-op games I've played, in terms of it being resistant to a general.
I don't think it's unavoidable in cooperative games. It is a huge challenge, though, right?
I spent a lot of time.
And there are mitigations throughout a lot of.
There are plenty of things that can mitigate it. Some of my favorite ones use randomness to mitigate it, right? My general sense is that his answer was very unsatisfying in that, oh, you've got these choices, you got all these choices, but the nature of games makes it so there actually is a right choice. I mean, if there wasn't, it wouldn't really be a game in a lot of ways, right? But at the same time, you've got the randomness in the deck. I could see there being, and you talked a lot about planning for your next turn, but if the randomness in your deck is the randomness you need to sort of break that general tendency, that could be it. I don't know without playing it.
It's not a good mitigation. The good mitigation is hidden knowledge, which there is none in here. But that's okay.
I was hoping, because he had so many neat things out here, I was hoping that it was one of the things that he had considered and something that he had developed. And like you guys said, it's absolutely an addressable aspect of the game. You don't have to be defensive about it or just leave it out there.
But I mean, to be clear, right? It took me 15 years to come up with the Pathfinder solution to that problem, right? I mean, it's.
So he's standing on the backs of giants.
No, he's not aware of.
He's parallel to the backs
of giants.
Sherry, can you really quickly? Can we talk about the production aspect of this, because there's a lot going on.
So it's probably the most expensive game. Especially if he blows it up to poker size. I like that these were mini cards because I felt like it made the game more affordable. And the fact that I agree that the minis are a vital part of this game because the look is just so good with the miniatures. Some of the other games, you could add them, but this one, you have to add them because they're beautiful. There are some out there probably that we could find, so there's a chance that he could find something because there's so many little pieces like that might work. So that's a positive thing. I also liked, which doesn't really have anything to do with manufacturing, but as a casual player, I really like the fact that there are no stats in the deck. It's so much easier for me to relate to seeing the characteristics of the person as individual cards. I think it's an affordable game, but we have to be careful with the sizing of the cards.
I would say one thing is that the cards almost have to be larger to me because people hate shuffling tiny cards. And a deck builder, you have to shuffle cards. It's the one complaint Ticket to Ride receives all the time, its base set. So, but cooperative deck builders are like the easiest games in the world to sell. Look at how popular Legendary is, and it has tons of typeface problems that people don't even care about.
And it seemed like he really did put a lot of love into the research, like the historical research and the writing and things like that. It's from what I've seen so far.
I love the flavor text. He was expressing how much he took pride in it, and it's really good. Like that's an element I thought that really made it stand out.
All right, well, I think unfortunately we've got to get the next game in here, although I definitely want to keep playing with this. So I'm going to steal his minis, and I think we are good to go. Even if this competition doesn't go the way that I hope it will, I feel that I'm getting a lot of really great exposure with this whole thing, and I want to continue refining it. I've thought about going the self-publishing route and going with a Kickstarter, but it's a lot of work, and while I really love the game design process, I'm not a very good publisher, and I think I'd rather try to pitch it to some real publishers and hopefully get picked up and advance with it that way.